डॉक्टर बाबा साहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी.
Namaskar. I am Jayjit Trivedi from Jyotirmay campus of the Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University, Ahmedabad. I am Assistant Professor with Journalism and Mass Communication Department. Today, we are going to discuss paper number 2, Unit 2, Part 1, which is Understanding Media, Mass Communication and Journalism. Today, we will be discussing Unit 2 of this paper. So, let us first see the name, that is Origins of Communication Part 2. That communication has evolved over centuries, that we have seen in Part 1 of this chapter of this paper. And today we will be discussing the primary point of differentiation, that is how communication has changed or evolved the humankind from apes. We can see that communication is only differentiation that parts humans from the apes. As we all know that nearly 99% of the DNAs of apes and humans are equal. So, what makes us apart? That is the ability of communication and ability of rational thinking. Now, communication in general and journalism in particular comes up very often in Indian scriptures as also other mythological and historical stories, that we will see later on, that where and how communication is discussed in various mythological scriptures. There are various references of journalism in historical stories to understand the context of journalism practiced before the modern day modes of communication. Now, tell me, you can tell me what are the modern day modes of communication. In comment box, mention those comments and mention those ways in which we communicate in modern times. Now, first of all, let us see the objectives of this unit. The objectives are: understand how journalism was practiced before the printing process. Now, printing process, as we know, printing process is very important from the point of view of mass communication. This made possible the mass media reach to the mass, right? This was the first form of technology which enabled us to reach to the masses. So, we will discuss even before printing press, how communication was done to people at large. The second objective is introduction to the significance of culture for the practice of journalism. Now, significance of culture. Culture impacts our daily lives and culture impacts our evolution as well. So, naturally culture will impact journalism as well. We will discuss about these things as well. Get to know the historical characters that defined journalism, right, in various parts of the world. We will be seeing some of the characters which are very interesting, that have defined various, they are scattered in various parts of the world. They have defined the path of journalism that has it become today. Now, before going further, we will know what will be outcomes, what will be learning outcomes. When we finish this paper, discussing about this paper, what will you get out of it? You will know the journey of journalism through the centuries. Now, there has been centuries passed from the start of journalism to till date. We will see that how many centuries have passed and journalism has stayed with us forever. The importance of culture of various eras in India and different civilizations globally. Now, word globally and different civilizations here is very important, as we will not only discuss about India, we will discuss about Roman civilization, about the world civilization, how journalism and culture has impacted. Now, let us go to the last learning outcome, that is, learn the story of Spectator and Tetler as pioneers of modern day journalism. Now, modern day journalism, how it is been done. Now, this is section 1 of the paper 2, that is birth of journalism 1, right. Now, when we talk about journalism, it is very interesting that when we talk about journalism, the first name I recollect is Narad. I have shown a picture here. This is Narad, who is considered as one of the first journalists in the mythological character and historical time. We have evidences that Narad used to gather information and pass it to others. When we used to listen stories, and when there was no need of Narad, Narad would be there and he would pass some information which is very secret and should not be known. Narad would pass that information and it would turn the events, right. Now, remember those stories and let me know in the comment box which were the stories and how Narad became a turning point, or how Narad became the center point of that story. Now, let us look at journalism during the mythological and historical time. Word of mouth publicity, right. The word is written here, word of mouth publicity. It was considered to be the best source and medium to communicate news. Before the era where journalism started formally in form of printing, word of mouth publicity was the only medium, right. We can know that without technology, only word of mouth would be the best technology to disseminate information to one another. Now, kings and emperors, which were like Maurya or Gupt. These are Maurya and Gupt kingdoms which were based in India. Which part of India? Let me know in the comment box. Maurya and Gupt would ask their courtiers to share the information or intelligence which they had gathered from citizens, right. They used to depend on courtiers for the information gathering from citizens, right. Even they used to depend on these people. They used to gather the information, and these people from around the corners of the kingdom would pass on the information, true information, so that the kingdom can be managed greatly. Now, the decisions of the king or emperor was made public at the village square or in the main bazaar by the messenger. Have you seen in the movies where one person on the horse would come to the village or would come to the center point of the city and would say, "Suno, suno, suno," right? Have you heard that? Have you seen that? Suno, suno, suno. So, king would or emperor would disseminate information to the public via these messengers, right. So, this is the earlier form of journalism wherein information was exchanged. The other form in which information and decisions were made public was by pasting leaflets at the temples, right. During older times, temples were the places where people used to gather in large number, mostly daily, right. So, leaflets posted at the temple would attract their attention and they would know the information. People used to regularly visit temples because of which information was widely read and the message conveyed to the society and community at large. For the heavenly deities, Narad Muni was crucial source of information. Now, tell me, who were the deities in the mythological scriptures? I can name a few. Indra, the god of thunder and storm, right? Likewise, Agni Dev, Vayu Dev, Varun Dev, all of these were deities. And Narad Muni was the crucial source of information for all of these deities. Mythology claims that Narad Muni had the special blessings of whom Lord Vishnu and access to the divine courts of all gods. Mind it, now this is the power of journalism. Only Narad had this kind of special blessing wherein Narad could have access to the all courts of all gods. None of the other deity had these blessings from Lord Vishnu. So, journalism is special from the beginning. We can safely say that Narad Muni was perhaps the first reporter, है ना, जो कि would provide on the spot reporting to the deities, different deities. We would go and discuss the topics, right? Now, let us see that journalism during the time of Ramayana and Mahabharata, right? Now, from mythological characters, we are coming to Ramayana and Mahabharata. These two are India's epics which are gift from India to the world. One must read these two books in the lifetime, right? So, in Ramayana and Mahabharata, how journalism was done. During Mahabharata as well, what happened? That Dhritarashtra, father of Kauravas, Dhritarashtra was blind. He could not join the war or he could not watch the war. So, he had his assistant Sanjay who would do live reporting for him. He would narrate the war, he would see the war through his eyes and would narrate the war to Dhritarashtra so that Dhritarashtra would know what is happening in the war. But now here one thing is very important, that Dhritarashtra and Sanjay were placed in Hastinapur where the war was fought in Kurukshetra. The distance between both of these places is kilometers away, right? So, Sanjay had this divine power through which he could watch the war, he could narrate the war to Dhritarashtra. Again, journalism has divine power. We can see that Narad had a divine power. Now, the next one is Sanjay, which has again divine power through which he would watch the war and describe it to Dhritarashtra. One may well argue that both the above examples can't be considered related to journalism as they were reporting to individuals, right? We can see that Narad went from one deity to another. He would report one to one, right? And Sanjay also reported to Dhritarashtra, that is also one to one, right? Now, mass communication field requires mass to be communicated, है ना? Now, here we are talking about one person communicating to the other. So, it is called interpersonal communication, right? But we can see it in a different way as well, that though it was not reaching to the masses, in some extent it can be said that it was journalism specialization, wherein Sanjay's live reporting during those times is comparable to today's journalism specialization, which is specific subject reported to a targeted audience, right? We can see that in today's journalism as well. There are specific beats, specific magazines, specific newspapers which are targeted to one subject and targeted to niche audience only. Now, tell me some of the names of these journals or newspapers. I can give you some examples. There are magazines on auto, there are magazines on lifestyle, there are magazines even on furniture, right? So, these are the examples which are very much focused on one particular subject, focus on niche group, right? So, this is how we can say that Narad and Sanjay were also earlier journalists. Now, let us go kilometers, thousands of kilometers away to Roman Empire, right? When I say Roman Empire and when you see this picture, which movie do you recall? I recall one movie that is called Gladiator, right? Now, Gladiator has a very large role here as well in journalism. This particular picture, tell me in the comment box what it is called. It is a very much well known Roman Empire monument which is located in Rome. You can name it and let me know in the comment box. Now, let us go through Roman Empire journalism. As mentioned earlier, rulers used to engage messengers to spread information, right? This is the primary objective, or decisions of the kings to the people in Dwapar and Treta Yuga as well, right? Now tell me which Yuga had which god. Dwapar Yuga and Treta Yuga both had different gods in those yugs. And mind it, Narad was present in both the Yug, Dwapar and Treta. Narad was still there. Again, a journalistic view, right? The same practice was followed during the times of Roman Empire as well. This inspired need for written journals. First time we are looking that written journals were required, right? Because the Roman Empire was large, because they needed to send the information. So, the written journals were required in Roman Empire firstly. Now, during the tenure of Julius Caesar in 59 BCE, what is BCE? Let me know in the comment box what is BCE. Then there will be another reference as well, that there are two parts of time, one is BCE and the other is AD. Let me know both the parts, what are these, what is AD and what is BCE. Now, Julius Caesar, during the time of Julius Caesar in 59 BCE, a journal named Acta Diurna was circulated. Acta Diurna, right? It was like a daily gazette carrying the decisions of the Roman emperor. That is one of the basic duty of the journalism, that you need to disseminate the information, and during those times emperors used to convey the decisions through newspapers. Then the news or information was manually written on the newspaper, right? Acta Diurna. On this newspaper, they used to write by hand. The handwritten newspaper used to be circulated, newspaper or journal we can say, and it was posted at public places in Rome. This ensured that people could read it and it could reach to the masses. Now, again, form of mass communication, reach to the masses. Along with this, it also carried military news, horoscopes and specific columns of interest, particularly sport page, right? Now, this sport page is we can say that it connects us to the gladiator movie, right? Because in those time the slaves used to fight, right, in Colosseum. This is their sport. So, sport page was also there. So, we have discussed about mythology and Roman Empire both today. In next lecture, we will discuss further. Till then, goodbye and namaskar.
स्वाध्यायः परमः